Children, are they a blessing or a burden? So as I have mentioned on multiple occasions that I have 6 children, and I remember that each time, except for the first time, I should say, the first time that I announced I was pregnant, everyone was excited. And then each time after that I announced I was pregnant, there was always someone, at least one person, that would have like a snide remark, like, you know how to stop this from happening, right? Or you're pregnant so quickly. All of my children are close in age. It's 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. So as soon as I took a deep breath, I felt like I was pregnant all over again and have had 2 miscarriages in between all of that. But there's something about pregnancy that makes people feel at liberty to get all in your business. And it was just always insulting to me when, people would just be like, how are you going to handle all of these children? And I can't believe you're pregnant again. And I remember when my husband and I were going through premarital counseling, and the pastor that was counseling us said something that always stuck with me and is still with me today. And he said, don't ever make the statement that you can't afford children, because he says the reality is you can. It's the Lord that provides, so be at peace. And when he said that, it just really did something for me, and I held on to that as I went on in my journey of becoming pregnant again and again and again and again. Realized that that statement came from a place of seeing children as a burden and not a blessing, and not seeing that since the Lord gave me these blessings, that He will provide, that He will work it out, that He will provide for me financially, emotionally, spiritually. And I have been a mother for 13 years, and I can say without hesitation that I have seen God shown up in ways that have just absolutely blown my mind. And I think that in the area of having children, and however many you want to have, I don't really feel that's anyone else's business. That's between you, God, and your spouse. And I just want to encourage those of you out there to not let people make you feel ashamed or convince you to believe that children really are a burden and not a blessing. In the book of Psalms 127, verse 3, it says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him. Children born to a young man are like sharp arrows in a warrior's hands. How happy is the man whose quiver is full of them. He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gate. Now let's go back to verse 3. It says, children are a gift from the Lord. And I think this is an area, as Romans 12, 1 through 2 tells us, that we're not to be conformed to this world, but we're to be transformed through the renewal of our mind. And when it comes to children, I think this is an area where we've, even in the church, allowed them to kind of allow the world to define for us what a blessing is, and not necessarily saying, God, you've stated in your word that children are a blessing, that this is a reward from you. So how dare I view this reward? How dare I view this blessing as a burden? Now, don't get it twisted. I am not saying that every moment of motherhood is just wonderful. It's not every day that I'm waking up saying, thank you, Jesus, for these blessings. There's some days where I feel like they are a burden. There are days where I feel overwhelmed. There have been days where I have sat, and I kid you not, in my garage, in my van, in the dark, while all my kids went inside the house, and I'm in there crying like, God, give me strength. I cannot handle one more child screaming in my ear. I cannot handle one more argument between siblings. I can't, God. I feel depleted, and they at that moment feel like burdens. But after I cry and get over my feelings, I have to live in the fact, the truth of what God has spoken, that they are a blessing. As I've said before, that you can't go according to how you feel. You have to go according to what God has stated in his word. And if he has said it, it is a truth. And I've had more moments where I have seen them as a blessing than they are a burden. So yes, motherhood can be difficult. It does get draining at times, but I go back to the source of my blessings. I go back to the source that gave me these rewards, and I ask him to fill me up with strength, to give me the grace, because I don't know what I am doing most of the time. And it's when I say that, this is not false humility here. This is, I have to go in humility and say, God, give me the wisdom. Show me how to rear these children. Show me, because they all have such distinct personality. You give me, God, how to raise them. I'm not depending on anyone else to lead and guide me. I have to depend on you. You're the one who is my source, because again, you're the one who gave them to me. So it's like, you know, when you buy an appliance, you don't go to any random, manual to see how, if I buy a vacuum, I'm not going to the microwave manual to see how to fix my vacuum if something goes wrong. I go to the vacuum manual. So it's the same thing. When my blessings are acting up and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I don't know what to do, to an external source, right? I go to God. Now, certainly the Lord can speak through different individuals, and he has, to give me wisdom to know how to rear my children, maybe from the mistakes that they have made or just the things that the Lord has revealed to them. So I'm not saying that I'm against counsel, but I'm sure I try to make sure that the source is connected to God, so that it's in alignment with God's will. So I kind of went off the path there a little bit. So let me come back on the path. So I just want to encourage you to not, number one, let anyone make you feel ashamed. If you have children, don't let them fill you with fear of what's to come to the future, in the future. And I'll hear people say this to me: 6 children, oh my goodness, how are you gonna pay for a college tuition? I don't worry about that. My husband and I, we don't worry about that. It may sound negligent, but the scripture tells us, right? Why am I gonna worry about tomorrow? Like, God's got me. If he leads me in a certain direction, then certainly I say yes, but why am I going to become anxious of what's in the future? God has me. He gave me these children, so certainly he will provide if it's his will for them to go to college. So I don't spend my time getting all worked up. I enjoy them now. I enjoy the blessings that they are now, and I don't look at them as financial burdens. I don't look at them as emotional burdens. I celebrate them now. So back to what I was saying. Don't let anyone make you feel ashamed. Don't let them fill you with fear. Thank the Lord if you have children, if they're your biological children, if they're adoptive children, however you got them, you begin to thank the Lord for the blessings that he has given you. And again, view them as a blessing and not a burden, because they truly are a blessing from the Lord. All right, you be blessed.